the Diddy story that captured the internet. The internet was meant for that story, and I thought I was watching sort of, this is going to be O.J. Simpson, right? Is he going to do what Russell Simmons did? So what did we see yesterday? All of it alleged.
All of it alleged. Let's throw that big A word out there. Um, what we saw for a lot of people, as we've seen as these figures have continued to fall, um, we saw somebody who, for a lot of us who grew up in the heyday of Bad Boy, we saw the crumbling of something that is been like an institution in many ways. This is my early 20s, like just going up in smoke. And I know there's been a lot of that lately. I don't feel sad for Diddy. I feel empathy for his children for sure, because that had to be a startling image for a lot of people. And I'm sure certainly for him to see his children in handcuffs. But this is where we are right now. The Diddy is facing a number of very serious allegations that were all played out. Most of these have been civil allegations, but you knew that at some point the criminal element of this would surface, and it has. And you mentioned Russell Simmons. There have been similar allegations about him, and what you have found is that this art form, hip hop, that was created, there is an underbelly of disgust that has existed in this art form for a long time. That doesn't mean the art form didn't serve its purpose. It doesn't mean that it wasn't revolutionary, and the success that has been there and that has been connected, especially obviously to the Black community. That doesn't mean that those things that it has brought to our community go away. But there have, somebody told me this a long time ago, and I remember when they said it, I was just like, that's, I just sort of blew it off. But it is true. Your favorites are probably problematic, and they're probably awful. It's just one of those things that, while there have been rumors about Diddy for years, I never thought that this moment would actually come where you would see this man who is responsible for bringing in or taking hip hop to a new height, for bringing in the artists that we have loved our whole lives, that you would see him essentially in a situation where it almost looks like he's on the run. It was just very surreal, to see. And I know a lot of the chatter, at least in my group chats with my friends, after so many of the memes were shared, not to belie the seriousness of it, but for a lot of us that grew up in that 90s heyday listening to Bad Boy music or listening to Puffy inspired music, it was just kind of like, wow, I just never would have guessed when I was in college bopping to some of this, that fast forward 30 years later, that this man's reputation would be completely destroyed. I mean, to me, regardless of what happens criminally, there is no coming back for Diddy at all. I mean, I think the last time we discussed this, I said as much. I think his reputation is permanently destroyed. But if he has done even a tenth of what he's accused of, I don't really have a problem with it.
Right. Seeing him walk around that airport disheveled was my first time seeing the crack in his demeanor and his armor. It's like, wow, like he had a lot of opportunities to show it earlier, but yesterday I feel like with seeing his children in handcuffs, I feel like the reality of the situation is finally actually setting in for real.
Jemele, we have less than 30 seconds here. Please close it out for us.
Well, you know what else struck me about this situation too? And it just, again, it's one of those snapshots where you're like, this is where we are in America. Here you have Diddy facing multiple, we don't know what he's facing criminally, but we do know, again, on the civil side, multiple allegations of sexual assault, very degrading, dehumanizing behavior, all of that. And then at the same time, we have the leading presidential candidate for the Republican Party, who is facing 91 felony counts, who has credibly been convicted of rape in the case with E. Jean Carroll, who is facing millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in legal fees and payments that he owes for his behavior. And he's running for president. And Diddy's there in Miami circling a building, trying to figure out how his life fell apart. And just the juxtaposition of that really struck me when I was watching yesterday. I was like, so I guess Diddy should have just been running for president.